What is going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today with a Dark Dimension 6 update video in regards to the city node. So we're going to be starting the second node here, using the same 5 characters that I've been using. They absolutely crushed the first node, so I'm expecting them to do this exact same. But we got Spider-Man 2099 here, followed by Cloak, providing a huge amount of debuffs, being able to provide that team. We don't have support capabilities in terms of health regen, but I mean, I found that this combination has been extremely effective, just being able to synergize with each other, using the bleeds, getting Robbie, Reyes, to get additional turns. Shang-Chi has been nice because he does provide a small little cleanse. Spider-Man big time with the disruption, being able to strip barrier, but as well doing some really good damage, especially if you use him as a striker. He can combo attack his abilities there. And then for Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, I did actually use him as an isolate healer, so that way he was casting a lot of heals around the team with regen, just because he'd be getting the most turns out of everyone. So that's been the strategy so far, and it's working great. Let's get right to it now, the gameplay. Compared to the first node, this is definitely, I would say, easier. I start things off by actually using Spider-Man Big Time's ultimate on Cosmo there. That way we add the disruption, but the one thing we do need to be mindful of is a couple of characters we want to be using our crowd controlling. So Ghost Rider using his ability block on Cloak, I think is a good one, but also Invisible Woman having the cleanse, right? So this took me some time to figure out the strategy here, but we want to be aiming for She-Hulk in the beginning because of the way that she actually is able to, use her charges and throw back the debuffs on us. So if you guys need to pause and see the attack order for this, I was being very, very careful in terms of what I would use the damage wise in terms of the count, because it would have made sense to ability block Invisible Woman, but you can see right there, boom, She-Hulk was able to actually use her passive. The charges are now removed, and that's the reason why I focused on Cloak, because he doesn't apply to that Fantastic Four a mixture here for counting charges, right, or the Gamma team. So now that we know that She-Hulk's restarted her charges, we are unloading our damage on this group, and again, you can just see the beautiful synergy here of 2099 and Ghost Rider getting the bleeds, and it's giving him more turn meter. Now this is a great moment. You see with the barrier that was on She-Hulk, we removed that thanks to Big Time Special, and that's kind of what I mean. He does a lot of little things on the side, being a tech character, and now we can finally get very, very close here to finishing She-Hulk. But you can see as a result of that, even though we weren't directly targeting Invisible Woman, she's pretty close to being taken down as well. And again, you just want to be mindful of controlling her, but before you focus on obviously She-Hulk. Now you are going to see me just focusing and kind of allocating damage accordingly, and don't forget Ironheart can also provide buffs as well to the team. So just a character you want to be mindful of. I decided to go ahead and actually use a special because with these characters hitting quite hard when they have AoE attacks, you just want to be very, very mindful. Leaving tanks like Korg, Cosmo, Mr. Fantastic, they're not going to be doing much here, and everyone is at a pretty good position now, you see, with all the amount of debuffs, and that's just the beautiful synergy of Robbie just constantly doing work when he does build up hit charges as well. So what's working really well, in case you guys aren't aware of his kit, is him just gaining turn meter with the amount of blades that we're applying. 2099 can apply bleeds, that synergy is allowing us to have more turns, hence why I did slot him in as an ISO 8, because the healer for the ISO 8 can be casted on our team with regens, as you see there. So we are getting a bit of sustain here, even though we don't really have a team with healers, right? So now we finally get some additional characters being added into this wave. We do need to take care of Falcon because of his speed up, and as well, a Human Torch, being a character that we also have to watch out for, because getting his ultimate and burst. So we target him right away when he does spawn. Falcon's a good one to target as well, but we know that he lets off an ultimate first with Human Torch, so that's kind of why we're focusing on them. They're really the damage dealers of this mid wave that comes in. So as long as we're focusing on damage dealers and conserving our energy and being very mindful of our cooldowns as well, we're usually in a pretty good state. How I was managing this as well is just making sure that we're using the key ultimates like Cloak, like Spider-Man 2099 when we do need that to apply a boatload of debuffs, and it's giving us that opportunity here to kind of build up our turn meter. And then conversely, Robbie is going to get a lot of turns, so we just got to make sure we're using his abilities strategically as well, especially with him having an ability block, and that very, very powerful ultimate that just absolutely just cripples the team. So doing really good. Thankfully too, the one thing I have noticed about these city nodes is that they're definitely the waves are easier to manage, and the enemies seem squishier. They don't have as big of health pools, I feel, compared to when we went through global and cosmic. As you can see, we're doing really, really good here. And again, with emphasis on the damage dealers, but now that we're getting some more of these healers like Scarlet Witch being able to redistribute, just characters you want to focus, but just be mindful. If you guys are using the website as well to manage the waves, I do believe we can actually clean up one more. Yep, and then 22 out of 30, there is going to be another cloak that drops. So just be mindful of some of these random drops that do come out, and that's what I mean. Given how it seems to be enough time as we're going through the waves that my allies are gaining enough energy to kind of replenish their crowd controlling, so that's made it very, very smooth. You know, Shang-Chi having his powerful ultimate to rewind turn meter as well just made it really good. You want to leave characters like Korg, Scarlet Witch, this shield operative around, just because they're not going to be doing much, and it really just adds to the progress that we're making here. Core goes down with the bleeds, same with Scarlet Witch, and so as long as Cloak is controlled here, he's not an issue if you want to leave him around. But again, like, you want to leave these squishier enemies around, so that way they're not going to be doing much to us, especially with Cloak having his abilities kind of controlled. And I think this wave too, we should be in a really good spot to clean up everything here, and that's going to finally spawn. So I mean, look at how great work we're doing in this node. Definitely easier than the first node, but again, you just need to be mindful in that beginning setup with again, if you just need to pause my video and how I use my abilities in targeting She-Hulk, it was extremely important to get that timing with her charges, and then finally take her down before the rest of that supportive crew. And here we go, that finally spawns the next wave. So it's nice to know that we can actually target everyone. So given how all my cooldowns are ready to go, it's almost like as I was starting this new attack here attempt. So I go ahead, I'm actually using all my abilities there. I would recommend ability blocking Falcon. I think he's a good one because him providing speed up and his AoE damage. Dark Dimension 6 scales hard, right? You want to be focusing on characters like that when you can. The other one that I had challenges, and I think I did some resets on, was that Star-Lord Annihilation that's in the back there. We do need to be mindful of him as well. Debuffs are looking good, and we want to really combo this up by activating the ultimate. Everything sticks, and just look at this mess that we've created. You know, enemies are at a huge disadvantage. The cleansers are controlled, and now we can do the same thing that we have been doing, which is rinsing and repeating, doing as much damage as we can, reducing their turn meter, keep applying bleeds, and again, look at how strong Shang-Chi is. So this is what I mean. I think definitely dependent on the team you bring in, Shang-Chi is, you know, he either thrives or he could be a hindrance, but because of the amount of debuffs we have on our side and the lack of healing that we need to sustain our team, Shang-Chi really shined, I think, still in Dark Dimension. You know, and mind you, it's unfortunate he is skill gear, so that's going to obviously conflict if you're planning to bring in characters like, you know, Black Cat in the future for the legendary section, but overall, his value was really immense. We didn't bring in too many skill characters. I had Black Widow and Global, so this is proving to be a very awesome run. But yeah, I almost felt like I could have probably one-shot it, but there is something that we messed up here, but that's all right. That's why we're, you know, going through the progress here and commenting. But yeah, looking really good, and kind of the same strategy as what we've managed the previous waves, right? You want to just be taking down the damage dealers slowly but surely, leaving the tankier characters, or at least controlling them. You know, characters like Korg, Cosmo, they're really good to leave around. Looking really good here. 11 enemies remaining, and again, we're just trying to take down whoever's left that's not a damage dealer. Excuse me, not a damage dealer, and we want to leave them around in terms of letting us build up energy, especially if they're tankier. It works even better for us. Just look at that. Every time there's a taunt, we get those charges built up for Robbie, and he clears it. This man is just an absolute beast in Dark Dimension. So you know, this entire experience could be very different if you guys didn't have Robbie. So if there's any takeaway, guys, make sure you have Robbie on your team. Big time. Shang-Chi, honestly, everybody on this team just has such great synergy. So yeah, this is where I did actually make a mistake. As you can see, wasn't really paying attention to Dagger, and she actually finished me off with the ultimate there. So that was my mistake for just not paying attention, and that's exactly why you do need to be very careful. Upon doing so too, you know, Dagger did go down with the bleeds, and we actually see here that the next wave does spawn. So it was just a really unfortunate position to be in. Now we're gonna right our wrongs here in the next tech here, and it's weird because like you saw how they all spawned before, but I guess like if you end up at that 11 mark, not all of them spawn together. So this kind of actually works better for me because I could manage more of these enemies, and then the rest of them spawn later. So that was kind of, it was different. It was was not expecting that. But thankfully, like I said, this wave should be no issues whatsoever. We have Cosmo and Wong weekend, then we finally see Scarlet Witch, Invisible Woman coming. So all of these characters are very, very supportive based. They're not really a lot of damage dealers, so we can definitely take our time. Yeah, make sure you're focusing that Invisible Woman with the ability block, just to make sure she doesn't, you know, cleanse and obviously strip away some of these debuffs that we have. And again, this would be one of those times where we need to be mindful of the waves, but as well, remember, there's 8 enemies remaining. So depending on how you use your abilities, you just need to be careful. So a War Machine does spawn to the right. We know they can do a lot of damage with burst, so we make no mistake. We activate the ultimate there just to activate some slows, but as well, it targets everyone, which is great for our team. And at this point, I am just kind of cleaning up and focusing on the weaker enemies just to get them out of the way, right? We know the bleeds are going to take them out anyways, and just the synergy. And being mindful of, again, Ironheart doing a lot of burst damage. We know that if War Machine gets his turn, if you have offense down on him, it's definitely going to help. But just these characters, the ones that can do burst damage, that's AoE, are ones we want to be watching out for. And at this point, still, even though there's 7 remaining, you know, you can still feel free to use abilities. I would say probably last 2 or 3 enemies that we're up against, and then I would be in conservative mode, because we do want to be saving up obviously energy for the next wave and node. Finishing up War Machine here, that finally gives us the last 2 enemies that we need to take care of, Viv Vision, and as well as Infinity War Thor. So just characters you want to be mindful of. They can do a lot of burst damage obviously, but we went right ahead and ability block Viv because we knew that she can flip these debuffs, but as well she also has an ability block that can, you know, render us and slow us down. You shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. I just kind of cut out some footage because it was just basic attacks here and there, but you can see Viv Vision still ability block because of it lasting the longer turn, and as well us gaining more turn meter. This ideally should be where you should be ending things off, right? We have all these bleeds on Viv. If core goes down before Viv, that's okay. You can't really do much about it. Seeing how Robbie is also lower in the middle there, even if he goes down, this is a very, very good attack, and so as long as his abilities are in check, not a big deal. So he goes ahead. Viv Vision does finish off Robbie. That's okay, because like I said, at the end of the day, we're not trying to perfect this. We just want to get this meaningful second attack finish, and as well conserve Robbie's abilities, which we didn't use at the very end here. So that's why I didn't really want to, you know, use any of the heals, or we could have done it, but then it would have been meaningless then in the next attack. We always have to think big picture. So now we'll finish off Korg here. Ideally he should be the last one, and all of our cooldowns are ready to go for the last and final boss node here in the city section. So super smooth, guys. As per usual, we're going to be taking a look at the number of attacks, which in this case was 2, but as well where the overall ranking is now. And keep in mind, I'm free to play and still trucking along months later in Dark Dimension 6. 3 attacks for the first node, and finally 2 attacks for the second node. So far I've been loving City. It's super smooth with this team, and sorry, oops, wrong click there. As per usual, I want to show you guys where I'm ranking right now with these nodes completed in my progression here. So at the time of recording, still in the top 1,784, and free to play Dark Dimension 6. So thank you so much for following along, guys. I love keeping you guys up to date, and again, just look at how some of these players are ranked next to me. They're, you know, double, triple my my TCP of 28 million, which is crazy stuff. So every day that I'm making progress, it's monumental and historic for myself. So appreciate the love, guys. Thank you as always, and I hope this helped you guys. Thank you, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.